This is a video that I'm creating because I believe there are no or hardly any idea group videos. I believe I saw one for administrative, but there's just nothing out there really, and I didn't agree with everything that was said. So this is my take on the whole thing. This is mainly more for beginners, but I'm sure people who have played the game longer might also be interested in what I have to say. It's not just that I've just come up with this stuff. I've played the game for many thousands of hours, and I've also read many guides, looked at many other YouTubers' videos. This is all my opinion, so there's going to be people who will have different opinions. It's just one of those things, so don't get too hung up on it all. Right. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to go through the top, through the idea groups. I just explain which ones I like and which ones I don't. Things to take into consideration when it comes to ideas are the policies. As you can see, I've just gone over innovative ideas, and there's a policy, and I'm sure you understand what they are. If not, it means if you have fully innovative, and let's say the top one, Nautical Education Act, so the naval ideas, you have them both full, you can then enact policies. You get in each group, admin, diplo, and military, a free policy. So when it comes to ideas and you're not sure what to take, you can look at these things as well, and they might give you then more of an idea of combinations of ideas. Let's say you're interested in innovative, but you don't know what to take after that, and you're like, well, I like a couple of military ideas. You can look at offensive and quality and say, oh, the quality one gives plus 20% infantry ability, so therefore I'll take quality over offensive as a rough rule. I mean, it's a bit more in depth than that maybe, but that'll give you a kind of an idea, right? So let's start. Innovative idea groups is one of those weird ideas that you never really take, but it's a good idea, but you just don't take it for reasons such as there's so much choice, so you're just spoilt for choice, and which means that this idea group, even though it actually gives a lot of nice things, is left behind. It's not a bad one for the Ottomans because it gives you other bonuses. The Ottomans have a certain, what they call again here, hang on, decisions and policies. I'm not Ottomans right now, but they have a decisions and policy that you can activate when you have innovative. So stuff like that might also interest you, and it might sway you into certain ideas. It gives you prestige decay. I like prestige. A lot of people say, oh, prestige is useless. They don't focus on it, but I find anything that gives you prestige is actually a very nice thing, because prestige in itself gives you, as you see when you hover over it, effects from prestige. That's just for having 24 prestige. It just gives you loads. Gives you more, 10% morale if it's at its highest, minus 10% aggressive expansion, etc, etc. It's just a nice thing. I don't see any negatives in prestige, and having it on maximum is a great thing. You can also use prestige to replace rulers. So here you go, and no, hang on, this is the really bad. For 50 prestige, I can dump this air and get a new one, and you can also dump your leaders. So, you know, prestige has a use, so it's not a bad thing at all. Innovativeness gain is nice. Innovativeness. Sorry, I've lost the ability to speak. Also gives you a couple of nice things, like power cost and tradition decays. All nice things, so it's not a negative thing at all. Technology cost and institution embracement cost, also great things. Technology cost minus 10% is incredible. Possible advisor +1, boring. I mean, yeah, boring. Institution spread 25%, not bad. Spreading institutions is okay, but nothing to write home about. Monthly war exhaustion reduction is nice. It's fantastic, but as you usually will have Defend of the Faith, which gives you also a lot of bonuses. It sometimes seems to be a bit of overkill, but it is still nice. An extra leader is really handy. The bigger you are, the more important it becomes to have more and more generals, so nice. And advice cost minus 25% is incredible. Having high level advisors means more monarch points. More monarch points is of course incredible. So as you can see, the innovative idea group is great, but like I said, you just don't often take it because you're spoiled for choice. What I mean is, the next idea that I'm looking at, religious ideas. Now, a lot of people, they rank things on tiers. And they don't rank religious as a high tier ability in some guides that I've seen. But to me, religious ideas is outstanding and probably one of the most important ideas for me personally because of this casus belli. It means when you border someone who is a different religion, not your direct religion, you can declare a religious war against them, so you don't have to fabricate claims and all that annoying stuff. Also, it means it costs less diplomatic points to take terrain, and it's less aggressive expansion, all sorts of stuff. It is a nice thing. So that's why, in my opinion, religious ideas is one of the best, if not a very important idea group to take. And when I don't take it, I always regret it because of the Deelswald casus belli. Now, the other things it gives you, an extra missionary is okay. It just means you can convert land quicker. Stability cost modifier minus 10%. 25% is fantastic, especially in the early game, where you're always going to be struggling a little bit with stability when your monarch dies and just general stab hits. The later in the game, the higher your advisor levels, the more positive stability events you get. So then you'll usually be on 3, but at the beginning of the game, it's incredible. So, like I said, the beginning of the game for this, and also this, makes it even nicer. Missionary strength is always nice, means you can convert things better and easier. Tolerance of true faith plus 2 is great, means people are happier. Anything that makes people happier means less rebellions is good. Prestige, like I said before, I really like prestige. I think it gives you so much. Another missionary maintenance cost reduction is also cool. Converting things, let's say you take Constantinople, it'll cost you about 50 or so ducats a month to convert. With this, it's minus 50% on that cost, so it's really nice. I've talked about that one already. Incredible. And culture conversion cost and clergy morphine loyalty is quite boring. I mean, yeah, maybe you want to dump your Diplo points, you've got loads of them, into converting terrain to your culture, but it's not that important. I like economic ideas, but like I said, with the same thing, there's just so much choice in the admin groups that you just don't get to it. National tax means more money. Construction cost, cheaper buildings. Inflation reduction is great. Interest per annum, if you take loans, it's okay, but it's not important. Monthly autonomy change is fantastic, but you usually have things in your government reforms that allow you to have the same thing, so it's not that great anymore. It's still nice, but not that important. Land maintenance modifier minus 5%. Money, not that important. Production efficiency is interesting. It gives you money and more goods created, so it's not a bad thing. Well, it's not more goods created, it's just more money, really, yeah. Production. I believe it also, yeah, hang on. Does it create more goods? I don't believe it does. Goods produced, production efficiency. No. Yeah, it's just more money, so it's not important. That, you know, more money is nice. Development cost minus 20% is incredible. When you've got loads of development points, or you wish to get a institution that's formed and you want to get it faster, you can then usually use your monarch points to increase development, to then get institutions to get them in your terrain faster, and yeah, it's not a bad thing. I like this idea group a lot. But your sport for choice. Again, expansion ideas is something that you usually missed out on, i.e. didn't take. But now they've nerfed exploration and buffed expansion, meaning you get 2 colonists now in expansion. You used to get 2 colonists in exploration, which is a pain. I still wouldn't advise to take expansion until late game, or if you really want to play the colonization game, if you're Spain or Portugal and you just really want to do it, then expansion has become important, but you can live without it. It's a shame really that they buffed this, because like I said, there's so much choice, and now it's made it even more difficult to just narrow it down, because you'll always be missing out, I guess, in a way. Colonist extra, if you're like I said, a colonization if you're going for the whole massive colonization, it's very important. An extra merchant, not that important, but can be useful. It's just money, really. Global settle increase, of course, if you're colonizing, it's important. Fort maintenance and center upgrade, it just saves you money. It's not that great, really. Diplomatic relations +1 is great. It means you can have more vassals or allies. It's always a fantastic thing. Colonists, like I said, settler chance, same thing. Colonization, it's good stuff. Global trade power, yeah, it means you trade better, more money, more strategic resource, chance of strategic resources because you're pushing things better. And number of estates +5 is great. So, I mean, it's a nice idea group, but it's just something that I don't. Yeah, you just sport for choice and administrative ideas. That expansion is just a thing that I used to like to miss out on. So it's a shame now that it's become quite good. Admin ideas is one of those that you mainly take because of this. Adaptability, -25% core creation cost. When you attack land, you have to then convert it to create a core on it, which costs admin points and takes time. Things like core creation cost, they reduce the time it takes and also the cost. So it means you can invade things faster and easier. It's a great thing. It's the reason why you take administrative ideas. Some people take it first, some people take it third, but it's a very powerful idea. It's also one of the most important for world conquest, because not only is that fantastic, but as you see here, if you go down and you look for the adaptability, it means you get when you activate the policy, you get also -20% to. Where is it? I'm looking for it here. I'm blind. Well, anyway, yeah, influence. There you go. Diplomatic annexation cost -20%. What that also means is that when you have a little vassal, or even a personal union, and you wish to integrate them, just make them into your land, it's 20% cheaper. Plus, on the influence idea, -25%, -45%, which means, of course, it costs less Diplo points, which means it's 45% faster and cheaper. So that's why that's interesting for world conquest, these two. Mercenary, it's all garbage. I don't value mercenaries at all. No. I mean, if you do, it's not bad. At the beginning of the game, mercenaries can be quite cool. I mean, that means they're just cheaper, and there's more of them, which is pointless. Interest per annum, boring. Like I said last time, advisor, boring. Administrative technology cost -10% is great, but it's just admin. This is, of course, better, but like I said, because you get this group, it's just, yeah. Number of estates +5 is fantastic. So 1, 2, 3 of these things are great. The rest of it's garbage, really. But yeah, because of this, that's the reason you usually take it. It's just incredibly powerful. But like I said, personally, I prefer religious. Humanist ideas is one of those things that is great. It's more of a newbie idea, and well, what I mean with newbie is it makes the game easier, because it has loads of things that make rebellions less likely to happen and makes people happier around you. So it makes your life easier, but it's usually something, if you're a more experienced player, that you avoid for taking a more powerful ideas of religious or administrative ideas, because they just give you a lot more to expand, and you'll just have to cope with rebellions, which, you know, it's annoying, but the power of these two is just far superior. Right. Religious unity means you can conquer more land before you get negatives of having too much different religions. Yeah, so it means people are happier. National unrest -2, people are happier, great thing. Means heretics are happier. This one means heathens are happier, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's all nice stuff. So when you conquer stuff, that's a different religion, it's less likely to rebel. Separatism means when you conquer things, you get separatism. That means you don't, and that's bad because it means more rebellion. This means that separatism is lower, which means less chance of rebellion. Nice. More cultures, it's okay. It's not that amazing. It's okay. It's kind of cool. That's incredible. When you So you'd think improve relations was just, oh, I want people to be happy with me. So as an example, relations, improve relations. You'd think, oh, it's just this. And that's what improve relations is. That's what a lot of people think. It just means you make people happier quicker through your diplomats. No, that's not it at all. Of course it helps, but it also means negative modifiers tick down faster. So anything that's negative that ticks down will tick down 30% faster. Which means, and as an example, one of the most important things when you conquer territory, you get aggressive expansion. It ticks down, let's say, on average by 2. With 30%, it ticks down at 2.6 per year. So it's really nice. It's incredible even. It makes me consider wanting to take Humanist a lot of the times, but like I said, you're spoiled for choice. So it's just, yeah. As a beginner though, I can advise you to take Humanist. If you play Ming, Humanist is a good idea because you also gain bonuses towards one of the other things. You'll know it if you play Ming, you'll see it. Jia Harmony, I believe that's the one. So as Ming, it's quite a nice thing to take if you want harmony. But yeah, and then idea cost minus 10% is fantastic. It means these ideas usually cost, I believe, 400 with 10% reduction. Of course, they only cost 360. So yeah, I mean, you'd think taking this idea group early is good because of the idea cost reduction, which means it scales higher. But I'd advise you, if you really want to take Humanist, I'd take it late game. It's just, there's just so many other things you need to take, such as religious or administrative ideas, or hell, even innovative or expansion or economic. And Humanist is just one of those things that makes the game easier for you, but is just unnecessary and sometimes maybe better to make things more complicated. Right, let's go to diplomatic ideas. Espionage is garbage, I'm not going to talk about it. It's just, it has a couple of nice things. This is fantastic. That's actually not bad. Having more diplomats is nice, but it's just a weak idea group. It's never really taken. Diplomatic idea groups has been buffed, I believe. It's good, and it's always taken if you play Austria. So if you play Austria, diplomatic ideas is the first group you take. It's due to, as an example, you can use this for this, meaning every time you do anything that will cost you stab due to a diplomatic action will cost less stability, and that's a good thing. As an example, in the Age of Reformation, territories in Germany will convert. And the first three, so of Protestant and Reformed, the first three nations that convert will get a religious centre. What you want to do is, let's say Nuremberg converts, you want to declare a war on them. If you can't declare a war with a casus belli, then you declare a non-casus belli one, and with diplomatic ideas it means the stab hit is less. You then attack them, convert them, and it destroys the centre of Reformation. It's a conversion centre. It's fantastic. So that's pretty much one of the main reasons why you take diplomatic ideas as Austria. In itself, it's not a bad idea group. The reason why it gets left behind again is because you're spoilt for choice and you have to take influence, and as I explained, influence, world conquest, and also diplomatic annexation cost reduction is just good. Right, but anyway, diplomatic, extra diplomat, okay. Diplomatic relations, as I explained, really good. Diplomat is okay. They're not, having more diplomats is always a nice thing. They're not necessary, but they're handy to use to make people like you more, to do whatever you need to do. As I explained with this one, in Humanists, makes your negatives relation things tick down faster. Great thing, fantastic even. Diplomatic reputation +2 is fantastic. Means people like you more. People are more likely to have alliances with you. As the Holy Roman Emperor, it's also incredible. So that's, you know, another reason why diplomatic is great for the Emperor. These are all good for the Emperor, really. I mean, it's fantastic. Province war score cost, when you conquer land, it's cheaper. So, you know, I mean, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, you know, it's nothing to write home about, but it's a nice thing to have, I guess. Technology cost, diplomatic, great thing to have. I like anything that reduces your technology cost, but it's a thing that you usually don't take idea groups for. Oddly enough, even though, like I said, they're fantastic, it's just one of those things that you just don't really focus on. You focus on other things. Like I said, the whole Deus Vult, administrative core reduction, which means you can core faster, annexation costs, just things like that are just so much more important because they save time. While this just saves you Diplo point, they don't just save Diplo points, they save time in converting things, time in annexing things, and that's the reason why they're important. And yeah, I explained that one. So yeah, Diplomatic Ideas is a fantastic idea group. It's one that I used to take a lot until Influence it's just yeah. Even though Influence has been nerfed, it's still just one of those things. I'll explain it later anyway. Trade Ideas I never take. It's just pure money. If you want to take it for role playing purposes, knock yourself out. I mean, it's just pure money, and I don't find it important at all. Global trade power, as explained, just means you push trade better. Nothing wrong with that. More merchants. It's not important. Nothing negative, but nothing significant. Trade range is not that important, I find. Just means your range in where you can put your merchant is increased. Whatever. Trade efficiency, more money. Trade steering means if you have a merchant steering trade, it'll be more efficient, which means just money. And also, of course, strategic goods, but that's another. I'll explain it. Strategic goods mean if you control certain amounts of trade and money, you have 20% of a certain trade good being steered, it means you get that bonus, which can be like +1 diplomatic reputation, +5% institution spread, things like that. It's great. You know, they're nice things to have. But like I said, the idea group is just not necessary. Caravan power is inland, so you have your trade inland and on the water, and anything that's inland will be influenced by your caravan trade power. So that's pretty much what that is. And then another merchant. It's just overkill, really. You can get merchants in other ways, such as an example, in the Southern Africa and Asian nations, you have trade companies. If you have 50% trade power in the trade companies, I believe it was 50%, I'm pretty sure it is, you get a merchant. And if you have in your colonies, which are in North and South America, and also Austria, of course, it has your colony has 10 bits of land, 10 land provinces, whatever you want to call them. You also get a merchant. So later in the game, you'll be overthrown with them. Exploration is fantastic for many reasons. Now, this is a bit of a complicated one to explain if you're a new player. Why is exploration so good? One, of course, you can send colonists around. Colonization is quite a cool thing to do. It's interesting. Quest for the New World, which means you can discover new land. Discovering new land means you can discover primitives. You can conquer them. There's lots of gold. It's a nice thing to do. Of course, then having colonies and having the extra merchants, having your trade companies overpowered. It's all nice stuff to have. So if you play a nation that can use exploration, then you usually always take exploration as your first idea. I'll explain why. Why do you take it as your first idea? You want to trigger, and of course exploration you can also take, it's very important to take when you play Japan, anyone in the Philippines, anyone in Africa, anyone in India. To be honest, anyone who can get exploration ideas, who has access to the New World or can maybe get access to the New World, is fantastic, because you can then expand, you can colonize, which means you're more powerful, and I explain the main reason why. To trigger colonization, colonialism. Colonialism is an institution. If you can trigger that, and as an example, you're in the Philippines and you trigger it, it means you don't have to wait 100 years or more to get or spend monarch points to increase development to get it to trigger. So there you go. So as you can see, these are the modifiers for it, what you need to have, and if you fulfill them, there's a chance that any port, as you can see, any center of trade that is connected or near your capital, except on islands. So be aware that you're not an island. Japan isn't an island, by the way. An island is a lot smaller, but you'll see it. It'll, if you look there, it'll tell you if it will trigger or not. And you want it to trigger, and it's great. It's fantastic, and that's one of the reasons why colonialism or exploration ideas is a first pick. So it's something to really consider. And like I said, in any Asian country, any African, I believe Africans also work. But as you can see, look over the trigger and it'll tell you which ones work and which ones don't. So it's a hot pick. So yeah, this allows you to have explosive conquistadors, which can explore terra incognita. Terra incognita is, as you can see, any terrain that's been undiscovered. They have a certain range though, so be aware. The later in the game, the higher the range. Extra colonists, as explained. Colonial range is cool because the further you can colonize, the better. More settlers, as I explained before. Global tariffs and envoy, complete garbage. Tariffs are garbage. Expel minorities cost is uninteresting. I mean, you know, if it's cheap, it saves you Diplo points, but it's not that interesting. Naval force limit modifier got nerfed, but 25% is still good. It just means you can have more ships. Having more ships means more trade ships. Fantastic. More trade. And having more ships is just never a negative thing. And can fabricate claims in overseas colonial regions. Colonial regions are when you can build colonies, which is North America, South America, and Australia, but there should be no one in Australia anyway, savages. So it's a nice little thing. It means you can fabricate claims on the Aztecs and then just attack them. You don't need to have anything bordering them. Of course, if you border them and then... I'm not sure which is a better casus belli. It's something that you should look on the wiki of EU4. There's lots of explanations of all the nuances. I can't go into it all because I'll spend years. Maritime idea is complete garbage. I'm not going to talk about it. It's just garbage because the game is focused on land combat and not on ship combat. Ship combat means, in my opinion, having more ships and starting wars when you separate your enemy's fleet means you win these naval battles. But using things like maritime ideas or naval ideas is just complete garbage. I wouldn't do it. Forget it. You're gimping yourself. You'd rather have something. If you need more power, focus on your army. But I personally would focus on these ideas, groups, because they give you so much more bang for your buck, as they say. So garbage. Influence ideas has been nerfed, but it's used for world conquest or massive expansion. It is fantastic in that way. Income from vassals is boring unless you're Japan, and if you're Japan, it's stupidly powerful. But income from vassals can be a negative thing because it means your vassals are giving you more money, which means your vassals won't be investing that money into themselves. So it's kind of a negative thing. Or it can be a negative thing. You getting more money is not that important often. Specifically when it comes to vassals, it's just something you shouldn't really be focusing on. But hey, you know. Liberty design subjects is interesting, but it's become easier, I find. Liberty isn't that much of an issue, and I want to repeat, global tariffs are terrible right now. So anytime you get an event which says, would you like to increase your global tariffs on your colonies, say no, 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 don't improve them yourself. Global tariffs are garbage, so you shouldn't have any problems with Liberty Desire anyway. Tariffs are garbage. Annexation cost I explained. Diplomatic relations I explained, it's fantastic. I explained this too, fantastic. Boring. Vassal, force limit contribution, just not that interesting. You shouldn't have that many vassals, and in the late game you'll have that much force limit anyway. It's not that important. I mean, it's not negative, but it's not that superb. Unjustified demand can be nice, means you have faster wars. Unjustified demands is if you have, let's say, a war score of 30, but you want to take a war score of 50, it says, oh well, you're taking more than you should, and this means that the negative is half. So it means wars are faster, and it's nice. So there you go. Diplomatic ideas, this one's the king. This one, as I explained, is also the king. These two are the ones you should be focusing on. If you're Austria, you take that. Anything else you can ignore. Right? Exploit. Boom, boom. And boom. Austria, no one else really. If you want, you can. But like I said, this is mainly for your world conquests, and it gives you a lot of the things that would have given you with the, yeah. And it's a bit of overkill having both of them, because you just don't really get anything. I mean, if you're Austria, maybe you can take it, but you shouldn't really have to as Austria, because you should have invoked all your imperial reforms. If you want to play Austria, I'd advise you to check out a YouTuber called Budget Monk. He does a lot of videos on it. It's fantastic, and he'll explain the whole style of how to play them effectively, and the little nuances like the Shadow Empire and the Reformation and imperial reforms, which I'm not going to go into because that would be another video. Now, military ideas are great. I love military ideas. Having a good army is fantastic. But yeah, you're just spoilt with so many other things that it's sometimes hard to pick military ideas. Aristocratic I like a lot. It is fantastic, but it's something that I often don't take anymore. So I'll try and explain when it's good. It's difficult. If you play a nation that has a fantastic cavalry, then aristocratic ideas is great because of the cavalry cost and combat ability of the cavalry. So anything like a horde, I believe Poland, I also think Hungary, I believe also the Ottomans. Aristocratic is something that you should consider taking. Also, I would look at some of the bonuses you get, i.e. the policies, if you're considering taking a military idea. Sometimes your military idea should be focused around what you've taken here, and you can say, oh well, I've decided to take administrative ideas, so which one of these military ideas would give me the most the most bang for my buck, and it's something to consider. So that's great if you're playing a nation with a lot of cavalry. If you're playing no cavalry, most other nations, then it's garbage, to be honest, because cavalry is overpriced and a bit useless. Or like I said, unless you play a nation that has a cavalry focus in a way, but then makes it great. Technology cost reduction is great, as I explained last time, but I always love them, but there's things you shouldn't really focus on. Autonomy change and absolutism. Like I said, autonomy change is not that important anymore. It used to be fantastic, but now it's, because of government reforms, it's just become less interesting. Absolutism is great, but only a later game. National manpower modifier is incredible, which means more troop reserves and more recovery. Fantastic. I love Army Tradition Army Tradition gives you lots and lots of nice things. You can see it here. Morale of armies, recovery speed, siege ability. That also means your generals are better. Every increment of 10 means you get, I believe, 2 pips. So when you roll a general, so even your leader, it'll roll a certain amount of pips between a certain range, and the higher your tradition, the more likely you have higher amount of pips, which is a good thing. So I love Army Tradition. Extra diplomat and leader without upkeep is nice, you know. Like I said, they're not incredibly significant, but there's nothing wrong with it. They're nice little bonuses to have. Uninteresting. Leader siege is great. Having leaders with more siege means you siege territory faster. Great stuff. And then nobility monthly loyalty is not that interesting, like the other ones that I've talked about. I never really talked about them because they're just not that significant, really. Offensive ideas is incredible. Leader shock, which means, like I showed with the pips before, it means he automatically also gets +1 shock pip on top of whatever you would have gotten already. Great. Recruitment time, uninteresting. Fire, same thing as shock, means he gets fire pip, an extra one. Prestige from land battles, I love prestige, but it's not that interesting. Siege ability, +20% is fantastic. Sieging things down faster is always a great thing. Land force limit modifier is great. It means you have more troops. Having more troops is always a good thing for many reasons. Having more troops means people are more scared of you. They're less likely to attack you, less likely to form coalitions, more likely to ally you, more likely to not fight in wars. If you're in a war, it'll say something like military power, and just having more troops is good. Discipline is incredible, one of the best things in the game. Morale and discipline are just superb. It's something, if you're interested in what these things exactly do, then you should look at the wiki, but they make your troops better, and that's all that really matters. Having more discipline and more morale is always a good thing. Army morale recovery speed is not that interesting. I've never really missed it, but I guess it's not a bad thing to have. Just means the morale of the armies after it's been reduced will go up faster. Whatever. Right. So offensive is a great idea group. Now, when it comes to it, these three are. You take one of these. Well, if you're taking a military idea, take one of these three first, and then late on the game. This is a late game idea, but anyway, so you can choose one of these if you want a military idea. I'd advise, and I've just explained why you'd pick this one. And if you don't have cavalry heavy, then I'd most likely advise you to choose between these two. Even though you can still choose this one if you don't have much cavalry, because it does give a lot. But if you want a bit more bang in your military, this is important. And as a beginning player, it's always important to have a great military. As a more experienced player, you don't really need a military. And you, even if you play Austria effectively, you don't even need military ideas, to be honest. Because you'll be using the vassal swarm, so then you can live without it, to be honest. Anyway, defensive ideas is fantastic. You spoil it for choice. I never know which one to take, offensive or defensive. Yearly army tradition, as I explained, when it came to the tradition, I'll go there again, just to remind you. It means this ticks up more. It decays over time, tradition. You gain it from combat, so when you fight battles, you get tradition, and it decays over time, the higher it is. Having something like that yearly tradition decay reduction or yearly tradition means it's decays either it has a higher slower decay and a higher plateau, as you can say. So it just means you have more tradition, you don't have as many issues. It's nice. Plus 15% morale is incredible. That's why as a noob maybe taking defensive ideas first, and just having these two ideas can be devastating. I'd advise you, if you're a new player and you struggle and you just want to learn the game a little bit, focus into military ideas, get a military leader, make sure you are always capped on your military technology, always cap it, and then if you have spare points, get defensive up to the second one, and always make sure you're capped, and if you have more military points than you can spend, fill out the whole group. There you go, that's my advice. It's your first idea as a new player, because having these two means that you'll be over, and having your military technology higher than your opposition, should be winning every war pretty much. Right. Cavalry combat ability, as I explained there, it's oh no, sorry, wrong. Land leader maneuver +1. Land leader maneuver means when you have a leader with more maneuver, he moves faster. You take less damage from attrition, i.e., what I mean with that is if you're on, let's say, land, and it says it has a support limit of 20, and you have an army of 25, having someone with maneuver will reduce the amount of casualties most often to 0. It depends how big the offset is between how many troops and how much the territory can support. Also means if you attack over a river, or someone attacks you over a river, whoever has the higher maneuver, it will either activate or deactivate the negative from river crossings. So it means if you attack someone over a river and your maneuver is high, you won't take the penalty. So it's quite nice. Maneuver is not a negative thing to have. Sorry, maneuver. That just means your troops are cheaper, like I explained last time. It's not that interesting. Fort maintenance is money, means your forts are cheaper. It's all money. It's not a bad thing. I mean, both of these are not bad. Fort defense +20 is fantastic. It means when the enemy wants to siege your forts, it takes them a lot longer. Right. This one means you can siege them down faster. This one means they have problems sieging you down. Not bad. Reinforce speed is only, I believe, used when you're on not your own territory. So usually, I believe the cap of reinforcement is 100%. So when you're on your territory, you will pair units that require troops. Will give them 100. So if there's a unit that has under 1,000, like a unit has 1,000 troops and it's under 1,000, it will every month give them 100 until their max of 1,000. If you're on enemy terrain, you only get 50, but this will mean, I believe, you then get 33% on top of that. If you're interested in exact maths, wiki please. Land attrition -25%. It means when you're sieging things down, or you've got you're over your not force limit. You're on terrain and you're over the limit, and troops are dying due to the support being too low, which I said was offset by that one. It means you take 24% less casualties. The exact maths, look at the wiki. But it's not a bad thing to have. And this means plus 1% attrition for enemies on your own terrain. So when they're sieging a fort, it's usually 1% attrition. It means it's 2% attrition now. It's not that interesting. All this stuff here is not that interesting. It's mainly just these two things. And them two are nice bonuses to have. I mean, that's actually quite good. And they're also quite good. So yeah, defensive ideas, offensive, both incredible ideas. And you're just spoiled for choice between them. But as a noob, I would just go up to here as your first idea at the beginning. And like I said, as I've explained this, I don't need to go over it again. Quality is late game. Don't take it as your first idea, because it just doesn't scale as well as the other two. Quality is something you take later on in the game, and it's great. It's also something that's fantastic for nations like Sweden or Prussia, any nation that gets combat ability bonuses, specifically infantry. But like I said, late game, maybe it's your 5th, 6th, 7th idea. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You just take that and it just gives you so much more power. Late game, don't worry too much about it. Infantry combat ability means you get not 100% combat of your infantry, but 110%. The exact maths and everything, like I said, wiki, but it just means your infantry is better. I've explained that one. More tradition is always incredible. Explained that. That's just cavalry. Ship durability, it just means that in combat ships are less likely to break. Ship combat boring. Morale of navies means, yeah, your navies have more morale. Morale is a great thing to have, specifically for your army. It means, I'll explain another one with the army. When you attack an enemy, you do morale damage to them. You also do damage to the troops, but you do morale damage. And if you have more morale, it means you do more morale damage to them. If you have a lot more morale, you have more chance of stat wiping the enemy. Stat wiping enemy armies is fantastic. That's why morale is always quite a good thing. Naval attrition minus 24%, boring. It just means that when your ships are out in the ocean, they're less likely to break. Your artillery is better, whatever. It's good, it's great, but like I said, whatever, you know, like a late game thing. So don't worry too much about it. It just, yeah, having better artillery is always good. And discipline for 5%, fantastic. Like I said, discipline is brilliant. Means your army's better. Quantity ideas is something that a lot of people like. I hate it, but a lot of people used to love it. A lot of guides, specifically older guides, will tell you, "Oh, get quantity. Quantity is brilliant." No, quantity is utter garbage, and I'll explain why. If you have a quantity idea group and the enemy has defensive idea groups, they will destroy you. They will attack you and destroy your army. You may have more troops, but their troops will be more disciplined and more likely to shatter your army. So you might have two armies, he might only have one army, but his one army will destroy both of your armies. And he may even stack wipe your armies with his morale bonus. So quantity is a very negative thing. It does have its bonuses. Like I said, I'll explain it all now. It does have positive things to it, but I personally would never advise you ever to take quantity. Unless you really know what you're doing, and then you probably weren't watching this video. As a new player, just don't take it. Don't take it, don't take it, don't take it. What's good about it though? National manpower means you have more of a cap on manpower, and the more cap means you regenerate more manpower. It means more troops. More troops is fantastic. Manpower recovery speed is fantastic. It means you recover more troops. So as you can see, as Austria you get 462 each month. Having that means you get 20% on that. The 50% one here means the manpower is higher, but the higher the manpower, the higher the recovery as well. It works in tandem, that one, with recovery. Regiment costs, it just means cheaper troops. I'm not sure if they've changed it now, but it would used to be like, if you had regiment cost reduction and you recruited a unit, its maintenance would also be minus 10%. So that's something to look at. If you have this, you decide to take quantity, look at troops you had before, look at troops you've recruited, whilst having this this idea active. And if it's cheaper, you can consider then disbanding your armies, but it's something you shouldn't do really. yeah, unless you've got loads of manpower. That just means your troops are cheaper, like I explained, more money. National supply limit, meaning on terrain, if it says 20, you've got 33% more. It means you can have more troops on territory without them suffering attrition from having too many troops. So they're all great things to have, of course. Garrison just means more troops in your garrisons. That's boring. Land attrition minus 10%, like I explained with the other one. By defensive, just means your troops are less likely to die due to attrition. And land force limit modifier just means a lot more troops. Now, all these things are great. I mean, there's a lot of good things here, but it's just outclassed by every other military idea by far. Because here you'll have generals with more pips, and you'll have troops with more discipline and more morale, and they will smash quantity armies. Now, the reason why quantity is good, like I said, more troops, which means and less attrition, which means you can field massive armies. Having bigger armies, like I explained last time, with offensive, with this one, means people are less likely to attack you, more likely to peace out wars because you're more dangerous looking. But I think it's crap. It really is. It's just, and if you fight an army that's got one of these, they will shatter you. Naval ideas is complete garbage. I would not take naval ideas ever. So there you go. I've explained which ideas in all the groups are good. As you can see, when it comes to administrative ideas, you're just stupendously spoiled for choice, because every idea group is good in its own way. It gives you, they all give you something. They give you something significant, such as innovative ideas. It's just great. For everything there is just nice, and having better advisors is also great. Technology cost reductions, institution spreads, innovative gain, war exhaustion reductions, all great stuff. Deals world is just brilliant. Development cost minus 25% is just brilliant. More colonists is just, and more states is just brilliant. This is incredible. Game breaking co-creation cost. And humanist ideas is just a beautiful idea to have, especially if you're a new player. Diplomatic is for Austria. Exploration is just fantastic, especially for the the institution. Influence ideas is world conquest, and also great. I mean, I'm repeating myself here. Any questions, just write it in the comments. But as you can see, I've tried to explain it in as much detail as I can. What you should look out for, and as I said, looking at policies might give you more of an idea. You might take a certain idea group that you really want, and then you're not sure what to take, and then you just look at the policies, and it might give you more of an inspiration. As an example, is Austria having a high diplomatic reputation is always fantastic. So you look at something that gives you diplomatic reputation, and you see, underhanded diplomacy gives me +1, and offensive is great, so I can take that one. It'll give me more reputation. Or you take defensive, and it gives you diplomatic relations, and diplomats is even better actually. So I'd advise you to take defensive if you take diplomatic. To be honest, if I was Austria, I love diplomatic, and I'd consider taking defensive. But with Austria, you get a vassal swarm, so you're best off, I guess, not taking any military ideas with Austria. And if you do, considering aristocratic or defensive, as Austria as an example. There's just so much. There's so much to think about. There's so much choice, and you can just enjoy yourself. Things like advisor cost reductions are great. Having high-level advisors is a great thing to have. You can level them up to level 5 with a certain expansion, and just having more. Yeah, it's just good stuff. And having a reduction on the advisors is always a great thing to have. And then just looking at the nation and what the nation does, what makes the nation special, such as Castile. As an example, with Castile, you get already papal influence increase, and therefore taking religious ideas also gives you yearly papal influence, and you want to stay Catholic most likely as actually you want to stay Catholic as Spain slash Castile slash Spain. So religious ideas gives you a lot. It means you can attack these heathens, I believe the heathens, the North Africans. It's just, yeah, just stuff like that is interesting. So there you go. I'm going to stop now because I've waffled too long. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you ever need any help, like I said, write in the comments. And if people don't need any help, well, then that's okay too. I didn't make this video for me. I made it because I believe there's no videos out there. And as a new player, I would love it if there was some videos, more videos on idea groups, because it's always nice to see, hear other people's opinions on them. Thank you.